Hi fam, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a DIY. We're going to paint and stencil a farmhouse sign. I am doing a voiceover because as I was doing this, I was also watching TV and I thought it was down low enough, and when I talked to you, you could hear me and not hear the TV. That was not the case, and I didn't think you wanted to hear that. So I'm going to do a voiceover, but we're going to get the same effect. To get you started, here I am stenciling the sign, but what I've done previous to that is to paint the piece of wood in this white paint. You know, guys, that I always use, and it's not white, it's kind of an off-white. Always use my drop cloth, which is my signature, and that's what I did here. I just put one coat on so some of the wood could show through, and then I taped my stencil down with painter's tape so that it would stay in place, and I sat down to stencil it. And there I'm using a black paint, and as usual, all of my paint um, is from Dixie Belle Paint, and I'm stenciling in. That little brush that I'm using there that I'm showing you is a Pounce brush, and I ordered that from Amazon, and that's the only place I've ever seen them that large because this is a pretty large sign. And I can put that link down below if you're interested in that size of the Pounce brushes. Using a paintbrush doesn't work very well for me for this because they leak through, and then you have run-ons into your under your stencil. So that's what we're doing here. Guys, let me explain a little something about the board. I paid $8.97 for the board, and from that I was able to get to have two signs this size, this large size, cut from it, and I believe it's 36 inches long. I took my stencil with me and had to measure it, so I was able to get two of those, and then two smaller ones that I think are about 10 by 10. So for $8.97, I'm going to get four signs out of that one board. That's quite a difference. And I had a friend to purchase one of these farmhouse boards, and she spent a little over $50. So I think that's quite a good price reduction doing it yourself. And I had the brushes and I had the paint. I did order the stencil from Dixie Belle, but I think it was only between $10 and $15. So still, that's quite a savings just by doing it myself. And I don't know about you, but settling down on the floor with my TV in the background for noise and doing this is very relaxing and calming for me. So if you're that kind of crafter, if you're that kind of person, this is the perfect project for you as well. You'll see a little further along in the process here that I'm also going to paint something else, and that's that little, or I have painted something else, and that's that little gray tray behind me there. Um, I started it and decided that I would go ahead and work on that as well because I didn't want to just sit and watch paint dry when I'm done with my farmhouse sign. So that's something that you'll see at a later date. But for it, let me say this, I did use chalk paint. It's a gray. Um, it was a regular tray, and I added the feet. When I purchased it, I think it was at a yard sale. It had a painting in the center of it, and it matched nothing in my decor. But I liked the little tray, so I got it, and I brought it home and upcycled it with some feet. And I kept it the way it was for a little while, and I decided I would change it today as well. So that's what's going on with that behind me. Wow, that is perfection. There are no bleed lines, so no bleeding paint on the sign, as you'll see. There is black paint on the stencil, but I have a remedy for that. When you're done, if you intend to use your stencil again, look at that. Look how perfect. Yeah. If you intend to reuse your stencil, you can clean it by putting some vinegar and water in a spray bottle and spraying it. That's the little tray I was telling you about earlier. And spraying it and wiping it down with a paper towel or a soft cloth, and then storing it flat. I generally keep the plastic container that it comes in. It's like a huge Ziploc bag, sort of, and that I put it back in that, and that keeps the edges and the little peaks and valleys on the letters from rising, and that way paint won't bleed if you use it again. Some people make their own if they have Cricuts or other vinyl cutting machines, and I have one. I just haven't cut stencils. I've used it for other things, but I may try that at some point. But this stencil was not that expensive. It's heavy duty, and I will be able, as you could see, to use it again once I clean it up. And remember, it's either vinegar and water, or if you use an all-purpose cleaner around your house, you could use that as well. Just make sure you dry it thoroughly after you spray it on and wipe the paint off. As you can see, fam, I'm using a smaller version of the Pounce brush on the tray as well, because it gives it texture. When you use a flat paintbrush or a regular paintbrush, you get a flat finish. When you use this Pounce brush, you get sort of a, I don't know even how to describe it, but it's textured, and it gives it a whole different look, sort of three-dimensional, especially if you add decoupage or something to it. It's really easy to work with. I generally use Pounce brushes when I'm doing my bottles or jars. And for anything like this, I'm not sure if I'm going to decoupage in the center of the tray or not, but I just wanted to point out when I use the Pounce brushes and when I use my flat brushes. Now, I use a regular flat when I'm painting furniture, or like when I painted the base coat on my sign there. I used a chip brush that I ordered from Dixie Belle. So what I'm waiting to do now, I'm waiting for the paint on this sign to dry thoroughly, the stenciling, so I can put my top coat on, because if I do it too soon, it will streak. And I did that. If you can look closely there at the E, I started a little too soon on that end, and I smudged it a little, which was a perfect finish. So now I need to touch that up and then allow it to dry. I think I'm going to wait at least 3 or 4 hours before I put my top coat on, the satin finish, which is what I'm holding in my hand. So that will be the next step, and then the next step will be to hang the sign. Again, the wood that I bought that I chose was thin, and the guy at Home Depot suggested that because I'm going to hang it up high, and he suggested that so that I wouldn't have any challenges hanging it in a high space in my home, and I also wouldn't have to put large holes in my wall. And when you're looking at it from afar, I don't think anyone really cares about the thickness of the sign. It's just the sign itself. So the wood is thin, and that's by choice because of where I'm going to hang it, and you'll see that later. As you can see, fam, I did hang it high, and that's one of the reasons for the thin board. I didn't need it to be framed or anything because of the placement. So it goes well there. It fits right up against the wall, and it's thin enough to sit there without me having to drill holes and having to use the anchors in the wall to hold it. That's the board that I started with. I didn't show you that in the beginning. And this is what it looked like when it was done, and I had to touch it up. Remember, I told you that by that E. It did smooth out, however, and it came out really clean and crisp, and I'm pleased with it. I hope you enjoyed the video, fam. It was a fun project for me. I always love designing on a dime, DIYing, upcycling, and this was fun. Well, that's it, fam. Another video under my belt, but who's counting? So if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Also, if you're not already a member of our tribe, please subscribe below. And if you subscribe, also hit the bell so that you will see future videos as I upload them and you won't miss anything. And if you liked it, again, please hit the like button so that I know what type of videos to post, what your favorite things are to see. I'm never sure because this is new to me, and if you tell me what you want, that's what you'll get. So until next time, remain in your element, and I'll see you on the other side.